Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Team Big Plays. So, I just want to say sorry if I haven't uploaded in a couple days. Some stuff's been going on, especially school. Got to get that work done, you know. So, for today's video, first thing I want to do is shout outs to my friend Dom for letting me borrow the deck for this one. And so, a couple videos I've been thinking about making. That should be coming up soon. Null Nun and Blooming Dogwood. I want to do a meta-analysis. I'm kind of touching on the idea of like what could Yu-Gi-Oh do for the next, I don't necessarily want to say season, but like the next gen of Yu-Gi-Oh. So, and what we got for today is a Lightsworn deck profile. It's just kind of a bit of a fun one. Before we start though, I do want to announce that my friend wanted to throw in Snowbell, but he didn't have it right away. Well, not Snow, Fairy Tale Snow. He didn't have it, I don't have it. So it's not going to be in here, but definitely keep that in mind, Fairy Tale Snow. Fairy Tale Snow. I might leave a link in the description down below that pops up with an image of it or a card description. So yeah, let's just get straight into the video. Alright, so as you heard before, Lightsworn deck profile. So what we're going to start out with today is going to be our monster count. So we have Raikou Lightsworn Hunter and Raikou Twilightsworn Hunter. Now, just to clear this up beforehand, Twilightsworns do count as Lightsworn, as Lightsworn is in the name. So what Raikou does, both of them, is to pop cards. So this Raikou is a flip monster. Apply these effects simultaneously. You can destroy one card on the field. Send the top 3 cards from the deck to the graveyard. Now, even though it does say simultaneously, these are separate effects. So if your opponent ashes, they still don't negate the destruction. The destruction goes. Because there is no cost. The cost was the flip. And then you have Raikou Twilightsworn Fighter. If this card is normal or flipped face up, you can banish one Lightsworn monster from your hand or graveyard. Banish one card on the field. Once per turn, target other Lightsworn monsters. Once per turn, if your other Lightsworn monster's effect is activated, send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. So this one's banishing, this one's destruction, but they're both spot removal, which is always nice against, you know, floodgates and other problematic cards, i.e. Boral Sword, because that's always a pain in the ass. Next, we have 2 copies of Minerva, the Lightsworn Maiden. So what this card does is when this card is normal summoned, you can add 1 Light Dragon type monster from your deck to your hand, whose level is less than or equal to the total number of Lightsworn monsters with different names in your graveyard. This card is sent from hand or deck to the grave. Send the top card of your deck to the graveyard. During each of your end phase, send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard. So basically, if it's sent, mills an extra. And then what you're supposed to add is going to be Judgment Dragon. However, there is one other Lightsworn Dragon monster. It's not in here. My friend didn't throw it in. Why? Because it's ass. It's terrible. Because you got a tribute for it, and in today, even recreational tribute's not something that you normally would want to do unless, you know, True Dracos. So, alright. After that, we have 3 copies of Lumina, Lightsworn Summoner. So what this card does is once per turn, you can discard 1 card, then target 1 level 4 or lower Lightsworn monster in your graveyard. Special summon that target. During each of your end phases, send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. You must control this face-up card to activate and resolve this effect. So, obviously, if your opponent gets rid of it, it's not going to resolve, but, well, the milling anyways. So, as you can tell, this is kind of like a discard mill deck. If they get sent to the graveyard, effects trigger. So, well, yeah, that's basically the whole point of it. Your main boss is you're going to want to bring out Judgment Dragon. However, in the extra deck, there are some cards that will help out with that as well. But your main focus is Judgment Dragon, because that will allow you to completely field wipe or field shuffle if you're bringing out Punishment. Yeah, sorry if there was a little skip, a little bit of an interruption. But yeah, Lumina's basically just going to kind of recycle your stuff. It helps too, because you can, you know, special summon out another level 3, make your rank 3s, special summon another Lightsworn out to Synchro, Link, well, you know, whatever you need to do. That's basically going to help you get your monsters out. Then we have 3 copies of Raiden, Hand of the Lightsworn. So what this card does is during your main phase, you can send the top 2 cards of your deck to the grave, and if any Lightsworn monsters were sent to the graveyard by this effect, this card gains 200 attack till the end of your opponent's turn. So it does get that a bit of that attack buff. Maximum would be going to 21. You can only use this effect to handle Lightsworn once per turn. Once per turn during your end phase, send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard. So it's basically you get to mill it. You get to mill upon normal, which can help you kind of get to cards like Fellis and Wolf, which I'm going to show you right here. So continuing with that, Fellis Lightsworn Archer cannot be normal summon set. Must be special summoned by a card effect. If this card is sent from your deck to the graveyard by a monster effect, special summon it. Tribute this card and target 1 monster your opponent controls, destroy that target, and then send the top 3 cards of your deck to the grave. So, there you go. Sadly, it is only by monster effect. However, a lot of these monsters mill, especially at the end phase. So, and then you get to pop a card, which is always nice. You get to pop a lot of cards here. However, though, if you do need it, it is always monster material. It's kind of like Pankratops in that sense. So then we have 3 copies of Wolf Lightsworn Beast. Let's see, which one should I read? They read the same thing, but one text is bigger, so I'm just gonna show you that one. So it cannot be normal summon set. Must be special summoned by a card effect. And cannot be special summoned by other ways. If this card is sent from your deck to the graveyard, special summon it. So basically, it special summons itself by its own card effect. Essentially. Then, for some spicy text, we have Cupid Volley. So you can choose one number from 1 to 3, then send that many cards from the top of your deck to the grave. Increase this card's level by the number of cards sent to the graveyard this way until the end of this turn. This card is destroyed by an opponent's card and sent to the graveyard. You get 1,500 life points. You can only use each effect of Cupid Volley once per turn. So it's not in this deck, but potentially you can 1-for-1 it in defense, activates effect to send, and then you'll gain 1,015 as long as there's no, or 1,500 so long as there is no pierce damage, which in this game there's not a lot of. It's also mill, so you can get out Wolf and Fellis a lot easier. Then we have 1 copy of Effect Trailer. Hand Trap, you know what this does. Level 1 tuner. During your opponent's main phase, send a card from hand to grave. Target 1 face-up effect monsters. Negate that opponent's effects until the end of this turn, and it's quick. Marshmallow cannot be destroyed by battle after damage calculation. If this card was attacked and face down at the start, do 1,000 damage. So it'll stall for you. This deck does have some problems of kind of building up resources, so it allows you to just build up your hand and wait. Then you have 3 copies of one of the personal best techs, Goblin Dirge. So what this does is when this card's normal summon, you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower monster from your hand, change this card to defense position if you do. So that's going to allow you to go into, Curious, Minerva, whatever synchros you need to go into. That'll help you out with that. 1 copy of Honest. Pretty simple. Discard this card during either player's damage step. When a light monster battles, send this to the grave. That monster gains the attack of the opponent's monster. So kind of beats over your big ones like Thunder Dragons, just kind of your bigger monsters. Then we have Light Ray Daedalus. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned by having 4 or more light monsters in your grave. Cannot be special summoned by other ways. Once per turn, you can target 1 field spell and 2 out of the cards on the field, destroy them. So 1 field spell card. Yeah. So there does have to be a field spell on the field in order for that effect to go off. In today's meta game, though, there's a lot of field spells out. Plate, Prankus Place, the Lightsworn Airspace Area 0, I think is what it's called. Trickstar Light Stage. So you pop that and you get to pop 2 cards. So essentially you're getting 3 by doing what you would already do by having lights in the grave. After that, we have 3 copies of Judgment Dragon and 1 Punishment. So these are kind of your bosses of the deck. Straighten out the back here real quick. So these are your big boys of the deck. normally you're probably going to kill your opponent by having all 4 of these on the field, or 2 in 1, dealing like 9,000 damage. And I don't mean like in the long game that it just takes a long, like seriously, you can get these things out pretty quickly. So I'm going to read each one of them, starting with Judgment Dragon. Cannot be normal summon set, must be special summoned from your hand by having 4 or more Lightsworn monsters with different names in your graveyard. You can pay 1,000 life points to destroy all other cards on the field. Once returned during your end phase, and the top 4 cards of your deck to the grave. So, yeah, field wipe, pretty simple. Pay 1,000 to field wipe. It's 3,000 attack, level 8. So there's a lot of things you can do kind of with that. Easy OTK. This one, my personal opinion, is even better, but cannot be normal summon set. Must be special summoned from your hand by possessing 4 or more banished Lightsworn monsters with different names. Once per turn, quick effect, you can pay 1,000 life points, shuffle into the deck all cards in the grave and all face up banished cards except Lightsworn monsters. Once per turn, if your Lightsworn monster effect is activated, send the top 4 cards of your deck to the graveyard. So, yeah. And this is just good. You summon Judgment Dragon, activates effect, wipe everything, shuffle this, and then from there it's basically a quick reset button. Because, screw your opponent. Yeah, this deck's really good at OTKs, just dishing out damage. A lot of the times you're going to be doing 9,000 damage to kind of kill your opponent off. So, alright, and then we're going to move on to our spells next. Alright, so now with the spells, we run 1 copy of Lightsworn Sanctuary. Once per turn, you can send 1 Lightsworn monster from your hand to the grave, and target 1 other Lightsworn monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. So, since it sends, that mills, so you get a couple effects going off of that. You're normally going to plus. Then each time a card is sent from your deck to the grave, place 1 shine counter on this. If a Lightsworn card you control would be destroyed by a card effect, you can remove 2 shine counters from your side of the field for each of those Lightsworn cards instead. So, as you can see, most of these mill 3, some mill 4. So you're going to be building up counters on this thing like no tomorrow. So card effects, you really don't need to worry about them so long as you have this on the field. Battle can be a different story. It doesn't protect judgment or punishment, but still, it keeps Curious on the field and Minerva, if your opponent were to pop them. So definitely a good card to have in here. Then you have a Feather of the Phoenix. So what this does, discard 1 card from your hand, select 1 card from your graveyard, and return it to the top of your deck. So now there's a trap card called Lightsworn Judgment. I'll show it to you now instead of later. So Lightsworn Judgment, place this card on the top of the deck. If this card is sent from the deck to the graveyard by Lightsworn monster's effect, you can add 1 Judgment Dragon from your deck to your hand. So what you do, Lightsworn Judgment, Feather of the Phoenix, discard it or something else, place on top of the deck. Normal, like, let's say Raiden, mill it, bam, 3 Judgment. So, then after that, Swords of Revealing Light. Pretty simple. I don't think that one's necessary. Charge of the Light Brigade. You're running 3 of those. So what it does is send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Add 1 level 4 or lower Lightsworn monster from your deck to your hand. So it's your Rhoda plus a mill, which can be very beneficial. All the higher level Lightsworns aren't that good, except Judgment, Punishment. Technically, those aren't technically they're not Lightsworns. So good Rhoda, and you'll plus off of it most of the time. Then you have 3 Solar Recharge. So what this card does, discard 1 Lightsworn monster, draw 2 cards, and then send the top 2 cards of your deck to the grave. So, it's not necessarily a pot of greed, but you do get 2 mills. It's mainly what it's for, is to get cards in your graveyard and mill. Twin Twisters, 1. Back row, this deck can have a problem. Lightsworn Saber, equip to a Lightsworn monster only, gain 700 attack. When this card is sent from your deck to the grave, you can equip to 1 Lightsworn monster you control. So you mill a lot. Most of the time you're probably just going to mill it since it's 1 of. And then, so the attack boost is always nice. Hey, True Nade. Return all set spell trap cards on the field to the hand. Very useful. Like I said, back row can be a problem in this deck sometimes. Soul Release. Target up to 5 cards in any graveyard. Banish them. You're going to get out Punishment Dragon pretty easy with that card. Dark Hole. Destroy all monsters on the field. Pretty easy. Creature Swap. So this is kind of Mind Control, except non-targeting. Each player chooses one monster they control and switches control of those monsters with each other. Those monsters cannot change their battle positions for the rest of the turn. So that can clear some enemies' monsters, and you just, link them away. Yeah, that can be pretty handy time. One Monster Reborn, pretty simple. Spell Shattering Arrow. Sky Strikers are a thing. So, if you're going to destroy their stuff, might as well, get some advantage out of it. Card Destruction. Each player discards their entire hand and draw the same number of cards they discard. Pretty simple. In a deck like this where all the effects are mill, that's just, honestly, probably one of the best effects that you can think of. And then we have Soul Charge. Target any number of monsters in your graveyard, special summon them, and lose 1,000 life points for each monster special summon. By this effect, you cannot conduct your battle phase turn. You activate this card. And you can only activate once per turn. Hard once per turn. So, that obviously that's nice. You mill. So like all these, I'm just gonna slap 5 on my board real quick, and 3 Judgment Dragons for game. Beckoning Light, because we're moving on to the traps now. Discard all cards in your hand to the graveyard, then add the same number of light monsters from your graveyard to your hand. So this can be useful. One thing that has kind of been a problem for this deck is if you mill Judgment Dragon, this gets around that, because then you can easily just get your Judgment Dragons back. Same thing with Punishment Dark. But yeah, so it allows you to get your Judgment Dragons back, Daedalus, kind of any lights that you would rather have in your hand, which is always nice. And then you discard your entire hand. So not only that, you can get mill effects off, send all those to get their effects, and then add more back. Then, another copy of Lightsworn Judgment, because you're running 2. Lightsworn Barrier. When a Lightsworn monster you control is targeted for an attack, so the top 2 cards of your graveyard, target the attacking monster negate. So you're negating attacks and then milling. It's not a once per turn, so that's pretty insane. And like I said, it mills too. You got to be careful though. You don't want to activate that, when you're about to completely deck out. But it's just good. It's good. I'm going to negate all your attacks, mill, and then plus off of it, because, milling effects. So, Imperial Order, negate all spell effects on the field, then you have to pay 700 life points each standby phase, and it's not optional, or this card is destroyed. Compulsory Evac target one monster on the field, return that to hand. Really good removal for things that can't be destroyed. That's always nice. Drowning Mirror Force, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, shuffle all direct attack. Shuffle all attack position monsters your opponent controls into the deck. So that deals with very problematic cards that, like, for example, Thunder Dragon Colossus, right? Say they clear your board, they're about to nail you with a Titan or a Colossus, flip this, all back their effects for banishing their graveyard Thunder Dragons to, save their ass and trigger more effects. It's not today, pal. After that, we got our extra deck here. We have Ancient Sacred Wyvern. 1 light tuner, 1 or more non-tuner. While your life points are higher than your opponent's, this card gains attack equal to the difference. While your life points are lower, this card loses attack equal to the difference. When this card is destroyed by battle, sent to the grave, pay 1,000 life points to special hit. So it is something that you can keep bringing back. Sadly, though, it will lose attack, but in the right position, the right timing, which does come up fairly often, especially, with Judgment Dragon, this card will just wreck. It's like, oh, no, dead, OTK. Which is something I like about this deck. This deck is a very good OTK deck. This is just the fun version, like I said earlier, throwing in snow. There are some competitive versions, but I do like this. My friend likes it. I think it works pretty well. After that, we have Black Rose Dragon, free field wipe. This card is Synchro Summon. You can destroy all cards on the field once per turn. You can banish one plant-type monster from your graveyard, target one defense position monster opponent controls. Change that target to face-up defense position. If you do, its attack becomes 0 until the end of the turn. So, face-up attack position, sorry. So, pretty simple there. You know, it'll get you over your beaters as well as it's just mass destruction that you can revive, which is always nice. Clearwing Synchro Dragon. Once per turn, when another level 5 or higher monster activates effects on the field, quick effect, negate the activation, destroy it. Once per turn, when a monster effect is activated, targets one level 5 or higher monster on the field. Quick effect, you can negate the activation, destroy it, and then you gain the attack equal to that monster. After that, we have 2 Michael the Arc Lightsworn. So this card's pretty good. I mean, as you can tell, this dude's literally fucking riding Judgment Dragon. So, once per turn, pay 1,000 life points, target one card in the field, banish it. So, it's a Cosmic Cyclone, but for anything. When this card is destroyed, you can target any number of other Lightsworn monsters in your graveyard, shuffle them in the deck, gain 3,000 life points for each card returned during each of your end phases, send the top 3 cards of your deck to the grave. So, not only is it a Cosmic Cyclone for any card on the field, you're also going to gain back the life points. So, it's also Prank Kid's plan with the life points plus, as well as it mills, so you'll get the advantage off of that. And it's just 26 attack, which is really good. Then we have 2 of the Maestros, one level 3, or 1 rank 3 and 1 rank 4. 2 level 3 monsters. The rest apply to Dijin, so I'm not necessarily going to name them. Well, actually, no, this one does. When a Dijin XZ monster, which would be this one, is attacking an opponent's monster during DM step, detach 1 XZ material. The attacking monster's attack is doubled until the end phase. You can only use this once per turn. The effect of I don't know how to pronounce that, but it's a hard once per turn. Then the rank 4, Maestro, the Symphony Dijin. Once per turn, you can detach 1 XZ material from this card. Target one face-up attack position monster opponent controls. Change it to face-down defense. If face-up Dijin monster would be destroyed, you can detach 1 XZ material from this. So, you know, it saves itself, and then it's an Invoked Raijin. Very good against Thunder Dragons. Then you have number 39, Utopia. When any player's monster declares an attack, detach 1 XZ material, negate the attack. When this card is targeted for an attack while has no XZ material, destroy this card. So it will, you know, save itself twice. Then you have number S39, Utopia Prime. You can also use XZ. You can also XZ summon this card using XZ39. Sorry, I'm kind of getting like a little groggy here. By using a number 39 Utopia. You control as the XZ material attached to this card also become XZ material on this card. If your opponent's life points is at least 3,000 higher than yours, detach 3 XZ material from this card, pay life points, so you only have 10 left. Destroy as many special summon monsters your opponent control as possible. If you do banish them, inflict 500 damage. Is that 500? 300 damage to your opponent for each monster banished. So it's a field wipe. It inflicts damage. As long as you can OTK your opponent that turn, you should be fine. But it is kind of like something you might not want to bring out necessarily. This card can be replaced, though, with Utopia the Lightning. So that's always something to consider. After that, we have number 41, Baguska, the Terribly Tired Tapir. So what this card does, 2 level 4 monsters, once per turn during your standby phase, you can detach 1 material from this card, not optional, or destroy it. This attack position card cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Your opponent cannot target this attack position card with card effects. While this card is in defense position, change all face-up monsters on the field to defense position so negate the activated effects. Monsters that were in defense position when their effect was activated. So basically, if they activate their effects while in defense, they get negated. So that's always nice, especially against Thunder Dragon. Then you have 2 Minerva, the Exalted Lightsworn. So this is definitely one of your better monsters. Definitely one of the best. You can detach 1 XZ material from this card, send the top 3 cards of your deck to the grave, then draw cards equal to the number of Lightsworn cards sent to the grave by this effect. This card is destroyed by battle, or this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card effect. You can send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard, then you can destroy cards on the field up to the number of Lightsworn cards sent to the graveyard by this effect. You can only use each effect of Minerva, the Exalted Lightsworn, once per turn. So, yeah, it's a mill and a draw. So not only that, if it's destroyed by battle or a card effect, your opponent's card effect, send the top 3 cards of your deck to the grave, then pop cards. So it's removal and it's pop. It's definitely something your opponent probably isn't going to want to regularly pop. Right after that, to kind of finish this deck profile off, 2 of the brand new Link 3, well, I shouldn't say brand new, it did come out like a little while ago, I think right before the summer started. Curious, the Lightsworn Dominion. So, same arrows as Decode Talker. 3 monsters with the same attribute but different types. This face-up card is destroyed by battle or leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect. While it's in its owner's control, you can target 1 card in your graveyard, add it to your hand. You can only use each of the following effects of Curious, the Lightsworn Dominion, once per turn. If this card is link summoned, you can send 1 card from your deck to the graveyard. So it's a selective mill. You can always use this to go into Nightmare Griffin if you have it, to add like Imperial Order or whatever floodgate you need. Or, you know, Judgment Dragon. If a card is sent to the graveyard by an effect, send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. So it is also a mill. And then, if it's destroyed by an opponent's card effect or by battle, you get to add 1 card in your graveyard to your hand. So also, if it's destroyed, you know, you get whatever you need. Normally going to be Judgment Dragon. So that's going to be it for today's video, guys. If you liked it and you want to see more, you know, hit like, subscribe, notification bell, the usual. And, yeah, just thanks to my buddy Dominic for loaning me the deck. That way I can get you guys more content. And I'll see you guys in the next video.